Imagine living in a world where luxury and agriculture coexist, where the desire for gastronomic pleasure leads to the cultivation of a species that has been around for centuries. Caviar is a delicacy that has captivated taste buds all around the world for centuries, and we would like to welcome you to the rich world of caviar. This delectable gourmet treat, which is typically linked with lavishness, actually starts its trip in fish farms that are relatively modest. In this location, the big sturgeon, a fish that dates back to prehistoric times, is raised with great care in order to produce the tiny pearls that we know as caviar. The cultivation of sturgeon is a practice that combines elements of art, science, and ancient customs. An exquisite product that is genuinely in a league of its own is created by combining the knowledge that has been passed down through the years with the most up-to-date aquaculture procedures. Because of the complexity of the process, patience, precision, and an in-depth knowledge of the life cycle of the sturgeon are all required. Each phase, beginning with hatchery operations and continuing with growout systems, culminating in the delicate process of caviar extraction, is a demonstration of the mastery of this profession. I am excited to introduce you to the fascinating world of sturgeon farming for caviar, which is the world we are entering today. It is in a hatchery where the sturgeons that will one day be used to produce caviar are born. This is where the adventure of caviar begins. The hatching operations of sturgeon are a miracle of modern aquaculture. They are the place where science and nature come together to develop the beginnings of caviar, which is a delicacy that we consider to be wonderful. It all begins with broodstock management, which is the act of selecting breeding sturgeons in order to guarantee the genetic variety of future generations and health of future generations. Egg collection is the next step, which is a laborious operation that involves harvesting sturgeon eggs, which are sometimes referred to as roe, from adult females who have reached maturity. Next, these eggs are put through a meticulous incubation procedure, during which they are placed in hatchery tanks that are specifically designed for that purpose. In this context, the regulation of temperature and the quality of the water are of critical importance. The quality of the water is of the utmost importance, since it has a considerable impact on the development of sturgeon eggs. For the eggs to be able to develop properly, the water must be clean and contain the appropriate amount of dissolved oxygen. Temperature is also meticulously monitored because it has an effect on the rate at which eggs develop and the amount of time it takes for them to hatch. Following the hatching of the eggs, we are left with what we refer to as fry, which are newborn sturgeons. Fingerlings are young sturgeons that are approximately the size of a human finger. These fry are raised until they reach this stage. This growing phase is extremely important because it lays the groundwork for the sturgeon's future health and the level of caviar output that it is capable of producing. Protocols for feeding are strictly maintained during this part of the process. In order to facilitate the quick development of the fry, a diet that is abundant in protein and other vital elements is provided to them. Because sturgeons at this stage are susceptible to a variety of illnesses, the environment in the hatchery is also kept clean and free of disease. Sturgeon fry and fingerlings require careful supervision of their tanks, which is another vital element of the process. For the purpose of ensuring that the conditions for growth are appropriate, the tanks are cleaned on a regular basis, and the water parameters are carefully monitored. The hatchery stage is a delicate ballet that involves safeguarding the well-being of the baby sturgeons, warding off infections, and maintaining the appropriate conditions for growth. The cultivation of these small organisms into healthy, mature sturgeons that are capable of producing the greatest caviar is a labor of love and science that has the purpose of achieving the desired outcome. To put it another way, the life of a future caviar producer starts right there, within the safe confines of a hatchery. When the fingerlings of the sturgeon are ready, they are transferred to growout systems, which is where they will develop into large fish. At this point, the magic begins to take place in its full glory. Eventually, the minuscule fingerlings mature into magnificent, fully developed sturgeons that are prepared to enter the realm of caviar preparation. There are a variety of grow-out methods available to meet the various requirements of sturgeon farming. For example, the traditional pond culture takes advantage of natural bodies of water in order to facilitate the cultivation of sturgeons. Through the use of this technology, we are able to get closer to the natural habitat of the sturgeon, thereby giving them an environment that is as genuine as may be conceivable. On the other hand, recirculating aquaculture systems, often known as RAS, provide aquaculture in an environment that is more under control. These systems recycle water, which makes them an alternative that is environmentally friendly. In addition to this, they make it possible to exercise exact control over a variety of aspects, which might be quite important for the sturgeon's overall health and growth. The flow-through system is still another method that is utilized, and it is responsible for the continuous introduction of fresh water into the culture tanks. The sturgeons are provided with a taste of their natural environment through the use of this apparatus, which simulates the continuous flow of water that occurs in natural bodies. Regardless of the method that is utilized, there are particular conditions that are important for the growth of sturgeon. Temperature, pH, and oxygen levels are some of the water factors that need to be at their optimal values. Maintaining stocking densities is necessary in order to guarantee that every sturgeon has sufficient space to develop without experiencing any stress. The strategies for feeding are also quite important. Bottom feeders. Sturgeons seek a diet that is high in protein and are bottom feeders. In order to guarantee that the sturgeons develop in a healthy and robust manner, the diet must be of a high grade. It is not enough to just provide the appropriate environment and nutrition in order to promote the health of sturgeon. As well as that, it is important to comprehend their behavior. Sturgeons are sociable creatures, and the complexities of their social relationships have a considerable impact on both their vitality and their development. It is possible to improve their well-being and productivity by providing them with environmental enrichment, such as hiding places and a variety of substrates. The proper environment and treatment allow these sturgeons to develop, mature, and get ready for the next significant phase in their development. The process by which sturgeons can go from being little fingerlings to becoming fully grown, mature sturgeons that are ready to be used in the manufacture of caviar is a fascinating one that is full of subtle nuances and precise stages. In the following section, we will go even further into this intriguing process, so make sure you stay tuned. The gathering of caviar and its subsequent processing can be considered the journey's pinnacle. This is the point at which the magic actually takes place. As soon as our sturgeon have achieved their full maturity, they are prepared to be harvested. A delicate dance of accuracy and care is required to complete this process. The process of harvesting entails giving the sturgeon a little massage in order to stimulate the release of eggs. Nevertheless, it is not as easy as it may appear. In order to ensure that the fish are not damaged and that the eggs are taken at the point in time when they are at their most ripe, it is necessary to have a competent hand and a knowledgeable eye. After the eggs have been gathered, they are sifted through with great care in order to remove any contaminants that may have been present. At this stage, the overall quality of the final product is determined, making it an extremely important stage. Each egg is a precious gem that should be cherished, and only the superior ones are able to survive. The curing phase, which is the most important part of the caviar production process, comes next. Eggs are traditionally salted very little in order to bring out the distinctive flavors that they possess. There is a delicate equilibrium here. An excessive amount of salt might overshadow the nuanced subtleties of the eggs, while an insufficient amount can result in a dish that is tasteless. In order to ensure that the salt is distributed evenly throughout the eggs, they are then gently swirled. After being cured, the eggs are then allowed to mature for a period of time. It is at this time that the caviar begins to create its signature flavor and texture. There are several variations in the maturation phase, but it typically lasts for a few weeks. The caviar is becoming closer and closer to its final shape with each passing day, so it is a game of waiting that requires patience and expectation. And after all of this painstaking care and attention, what is left is a gourmet delicacy that is genuinely in a league of its own. Each tin of caviar is a representation of the laborious effort and unwavering commitment that goes into the manufacturing of the product. In addition to being a source of sustenance, it is also an experience, a sensory trip that takes you from the farm to your taste. And before you know it, the priceless eggs of the sturgeon are turned into the delicious delicacy that we refer to as caviar. The creation of that ideal mouthful of caviar, which is a great treat for the senses, requires each and every stage of this procedure to happen perfectly. Even in the middle of this luxury, it is impossible to ignore the importance of conservation and sustainability. The cultivation of sturgeon, despite being a lucrative business activity, is not without its difficulties. The wild sturgeon population has experienced a significant decrease as a result of overexploitation and the destruction of its habitat. In light of this, the question arises as to how we may continue to take pleasure in the delicacy of caviar without jeopardizing the continued existence of these old giants of the river. Sustainable agricultural practices are the solution to this problem. Stewardship of the environment is quite important. Farmers are increasingly embracing responsible aquaculture practices, such as recirculating aquaculture systems, which reduce the amount of water used and the impact on the environment. Additionally, habitat restoration activities are also being carried out in a number of places, with the objective of providing sturgeon with secure breeding grounds and preserving the natural environments in which they live. However, the sustainability of the caviar industry is not limited to the farming procedures associated with it. The preservation of the genetic variety of sturgeon is another important consideration. In order to protect the unique species of sturgeon and to prevent inbreeding, which can put the health of the entire population at risk, breeding programs are very necessary. The promotion of sustainable caviar production is also significantly aided by the implementation of regulations. It is ensured that caviar comes from ethical and environmentally responsible sources through the implementation of certification programs, traceability systems, and international trade rules. Not only do these precautions safeguard sturgeon, but they also guarantee that consumers can have faith in the caviar they purchase, both in terms of its quality and its provenance. The engagement of the community and the awareness of the public are both equally vital. We can encourage responsible consumer behavior and cultivate a culture of appreciation for these gorgeous creatures if we educate people about the significance of conserved sturgeon and the value of caviar that is produced in a sustainable manner. A further important factor is the importance of research relationships between scientists, farmers, and environmentalists. It is possible for us to continue to innovate and enhance procedures for the cultivation of sturgeon and the production of caviar if we collectively share our expertise and resources. At the same time that we are enjoying the flavor of caviar, let us not forget that we have a responsibility to the environment and to this beautiful species. We are not only indulging in a luxury when we choose sustainable caviar, we are also making a contribution to the preservation of an old species as well as the health of our rivers and seas. Therefore, the next time you indulge in a tasty spoonful of caviar, keep in mind that it is not just a delicacy, but also a demonstration of our dedication to a future that is environmentally friendly. The journey has been quite a long one, hasn't it? We have successfully navigated the intricate world of sturgeon farming, beginning with hatchery operations that nurture sturgeon from eggs to fingerlings. This has allowed us to produce everything from a tin of caviar to a sturgeon hatchery's products. The effective growth of sturgeon eggs can be influenced by a variety of factors, including the quality of the water, temperature control, and feeding regimens. Next, we transitioned to Growout systems, where we gained an understanding of the various conditions that have the potential to foster the growth and health of sturgeon. Flow-through systems, pond culture, and recirculating aquaculture systems are all distinct methods of sturgeon farming. Each of these methods has its own advantages and disadvantages. After much effort, we were finally able to master the art of caviar processing, which included everything from harvesting techniques to egg extraction and curing methods. In addition, let us not overlook the significance of protecting our rare sturgeon populations and the environments in which they live through the implementation of conservation and sustainability initiatives. Always keep in mind that each and every spoonful of caviar is a story of patience, care, and reverence for the bounties of nature.